Hey everybody, Joshua Laycock here, Lifestyle Evolution, episode 99. I've been really torn about what I'm going to do for these last few episodes. Sorry if I'm whispering a little bit. I just had a really great day. Um, Work was work, but Wednesday nights are one of my favorite nights because I get to leave a little early. I pick up my son. He goes to jiu-jitsu, MMA, and then because he's in the bigger class now, we're out a bit later, so he and I grab dinner on the way home and have a bit of father-son bonding time, and that's always pretty awesome. And then I get to put him to bed and then hang out for a bit with my wife. So Wednesdays are awesome. So I wasn't sure what I was going to do. At first I thought I'd go back over, the 100 episodes and pull some of my favorite points to reiterate them, but I thought, nah, you know what, that's just repeating myself, and if people are interested, they can go back and find value in those videos if they see that, and they can explore that and have fun with that. And hopefully, if you guys have found some value, you'll share that with people. And I think that's what's cool about some of these messages and some of these videos is I think some of them will stand the test of time, and others I may look back in a few years and go, man, was I ever off the mark. But I did want to do a little bit of a recap in terms of what I've learned about myself and the process over the past sort of 99 days. And the top 5 things I think that I've put together are kind of interesting and maybe not what I expected to get out of this process. So I jotted a few things down here. Number one, and I did a video on this not that long ago, but most people aren't aware of their own perspectives. They're not aware of the role they play in the world, and they're not necessarily awake yet to the reality of different perspectives and different possibilities. And I think as a result, a lot of people miss a lot of the life lessons that the world is presenting to you on a day-to-day basis. This came out of that question of how do you come up with this stuff? How do you see the world this way? And I think it was really about shifting perspectives and stepping back and trying to be aware of the way in which I'm watching the world, the way in which I see the world, and then almost pulling myself out and sitting back and just look at the world through a different perspective. And it is amazing what you see. Sometimes it's not pretty. Sometimes it's, to be honest, a little disturbing. But more often than not, it's pretty powerful. You see that the world is presenting lessons and opportunities for us to be great every day. And we just have to be awake enough to see them. And so that's one of the most important things that I've taken away from this past few months as I'm exploring ideas. At first, it was more of an effort. I'm actively seeking something to talk about. And because when you think you've got a list of things you want to talk about, doing 100 of these, you run out of those ideas pretty quickly. So you have to start getting creative. And it maybe took a week or two of really actively, deliberately looking for something to talk about. And that naturally evolved into, it was just what I saw. It was just the way that I started to see the world, and that was pretty cool. And I think if more people would look to see those things, those currents, those patterns, those lessons, the stories, they'd see life through a different lens. And I think that's a pretty powerful thing. The second thing I learned is the power of habit. Again, the first few videos were tough. I was excited, but it was something I had to force myself to do. I had to set an alarm to remind myself not to go to bed if I've missed it doing it. And now it's just part of my day. Aside from the fact that I'm kind of always scanning and learning and thinking, how can I bring value to the people around me? How can I help people pull themselves up? Doing the video is part of my routine now. And yes, that routine turned into either to or from work in my car, but that was just the way that routine played out, the way that habit was ingrained. So the power of habit is huge. I talked a little bit a while ago about the book Atomic Habits, and I've done a lot of work on that book, and I've integrated a lot of its concepts and principles into my life, not just with the videos, but in general. It's incredibly powerful, and I would argue that it is one of the most important shifts that I've experienced in terms of productivity and personal development. I was very, very goal focused. I wasn't always the best at hitting them though. Like I was really good at creating a goal, a process of developing goals. And I don't know why I was getting frustrated that I wasn't hitting them. And aside from the vision work that I've done, which I've sort of spoken ad nauseum about, and it's what I do, and it's the anchor of a lot of the work that I do. I think the counterbalance, I used to think that the counterbalance to the vision was really strongly designed goals, but I actually think that the counterbalance to the vision is firmly ingrained habits and really making that a part of your day. So now sitting down and doing a video this is the most formal thing I've done in a long time, sitting down, making notes. For the most part, it's just become part of my day. It's an element, and I have come to really enjoy it. It's not work anymore, which is pretty cool. The third thing that I wrote down here was not everything that we do needs to be epic. You know, there is a danger in the Instagram social media world, in the era of home run derbies and slam dunk contests, that we miss out sometimes on the value of the bunt, the single, being able to hit a free throw. Just consistency, showing up sometimes is good enough. Sometimes, you know, there were days when I was really not inspired. I didn't think that I was going to have anything very momentous to say. I was a little let down that I didn't have something that I thought was more profound. And ironically, some of those videos resonated with people the most, not just the fun ones of me singing or dancing with my kids or Caleb being goofy and talking about jiu-jitsu. Those were fun, and I'm glad that those did well. But some of the simplest concepts, some of the things that I thought were sort of throwaway comments, someone latched on and sent me a note and said, that really, really resonated with me. It's the day-to-day little things sometimes. Sure, there's a time to swing for the fences. There's a time for the flash and for the epic moves. But that's not what life is all about. Life isn't made up of epic moments. It's made up of little consistent singles that add value over time. And, you know, I also think there's a bit of a hubris around thinking that not everything that I had to say needed to be epic or profound was hugely egotistical, because arguably nothing that I said is hugely profound. Nothing that I've said here is original. It's not about putting myself down. It's true. I mean, these are ideas that have been recycled over and over again and repackaged and told in different stories through different mediums, but nothing that I have said over the past 99 days has been unique and original. It's just how I see it, and hopefully I can package it in a way that resonates with you. But to assume or to hold myself accountable or feel bad for myself because something that I said wasn't epic implies that everything else that I said was epic, and that's not likely true either. You know, so we don't have to put so much pressure on ourselves to hit the home run every time. And I think that's important, that sometimes going through the process, getting back to the habits, going through the motions, showing up, sometimes that's not only good enough, but that's actually how you win the game. The players who play small ball. Number 4, I wrote down, making an impact is harder than you think. I am very grateful to the people who have tuned in to either YouTube or Instagram and the comments. But admittedly, it's been a very small, tight circle. I haven't really done a very effective job at getting my message out beyond my inner circle. And I'm grateful that I've got all this content, and I'm going to rework it and repurpose it and try to get that message out. But simply sitting here and making 100 videos isn't enough to make an impact. And, you know, I thought from a follower perspective, from an influence perspective, maybe even from a potential client perspective, I thought that doing 100 videos would put me further down the road than it has. And at first, as I was at about 60 or 70, I was really feeling demoralized. Like, what is the point of this? I'm not moving forward. And I just have to recognize and accept that that's part of the game. And whenever you think something should be easier, that something should be happening faster, that you should be making a bigger impact, you need to check yourself and realize that this is a long game. And while, yes, doing 100 videos is very cool, and I wouldn't have thought 4 months ago that this is something that I can do, a stretch of 100 days doing 100 videos is not enough to move the pin in terms of making a material impact. And that's okay, because this is just the start. This isn't the end of anything. If anything, this is just going to be, when I look back on this, a very small blip at the beginning of a very, very long and exciting journey. But if you're setting out to make an impact, whether it's with one person or 10 or 100 or a million or whatever, recognize that it's going to be harder than I think that you think. It's going to take a more diverse set of skills. It's going to take more patience. It's going to take some moving forward, then some moving back, and some moving forward, moving laterally. It's not a straight line. And I'm really glad that I pushed through, because I was feeling really shitty at around 60, 70-ish. I was just sort of feeling very slumped. And even though I was in the habit of making these videos, I was not inspired, and I was worried that no one was listening, until I realized that nobody listening is okay. So making an impact is harder than you think, but the part two of that is, but it's a worthy effort. It's a worthy goal. And, impacts, if you profoundly impact one person, well, that's huge. And it's not as good as impacting 2 or 4 or 8, but still pretty awesome that you impacted someone else's life. So I'm working on being cool with that, and I'm excited about where this journey is going to go. And then lastly, I wrote, courage is more about consistent action over time than one bold, courageous moment. I was nervous to do these videos. Not that I'm nervous to speak in front of people, but I was sharing more about myself and my views in a very public forum that I had never done before. I'm sure there are a few coworkers of mine that watch this. I'm sure there have been some things that I've said that people have cringed. I know that there's been some things that I've said that my wife and I have had tough conversations about. And I'm okay with that. I don't go out looking to stir up shit most times. But I do know that it required an element of courage on my part. But it was a slow build, a slow burn of consistently courageous, small, courageous actions. There's no one big moment. Arguably the first one, you could look back and say, okay, the first one took courage. Great. Well, continuing to go when no one was listening, that took courage. There's a couple of videos that I put out there that I'm sure if some people got a hold of could use it against me in terms of the way I viewed the world. And that took some courage. Honestly, there were things that I really, really wanted to say and didn't, because quite frankly, I thought that it might have an outsized impact on my career and the people around me, and I owe more to them. Then that took courage, to not always be able to do exactly what you want, whenever you want. And I think when we think of courage, we think of one moment, right? We think of someone running to the rescue. We think of someone sacrificing themselves. We think of, literally taking a deep breath, squaring your shoulders and diving in. And while those are moments of courage, I think that someone to be deemed courageous requires consistent action over time. And I think that we put too much stock in the one big event. I'm going to be looking to more formally ramp up lifestyle evolution. In terms of what that exactly means, I'm not sure yet. I've got vision for myself. I'm having drinks with a buddy of mine tomorrow. We're going to talk about that. He might want to get involved. I know that Kate's excited watching this. She's excited to see where this is going to go and wants to get involved. And that's really cool. I've had a bunch of people reach out, say, hey, if I heard you're thinking about doing a podcast, I'd love to be on it. How can I help? I love the how can I helps. It's fantastic that people want to be a part of this, and I'm excited about that. But it's not about one big thing. It's not going to be about one momentous moment. It's going to be about sustained, courageous action moving me forward towards my vision, right? By creating habits. And those are the 5 things that I've really taken away from this is, so being aware of your perspectives and seeing the world, having the capacity and the awareness to see the world through a different lens. The power of habit is undeniable. Not everything we do needs to be epic. That kind of ties into the courageous piece, right? Where It doesn't have to be this giant, huge sacrifice. It doesn't have to be an all-in, here's my chips, fuck it, be damned the outcome. It has to be consistent and measured. And then, making an impact, while very, very important. And I don't discount the accomplishment of doing 100 videos. But it's interesting to see that making an impact is harder than you think. And it's really led me to respect the people who have done that, and to have more empathy for the people who have tried and failed. And again, even more courage for those who have tried and failed and keep trying and failing and keep trying until it sticks. And I don't think I'm at a point where I've failed. Certainly not. I'm not where I wanted to be after these videos, but I'm enjoying the struggle of getting this out there. So that's what I've learned over the past 99 days. And I'm looking forward to recording 100 tomorrow and to signing off to this little mini project, but it certainly will not be the end, as I've said. So that's what I've got for tonight. I'm going to get this thing edited, posted it up, and then I'm going to go hang out with my wife and finish what has been a really, really awesome day with my family. So take care, everybody. Thanks again for listening in. This one's a bit of a longer one, a little bit of a different format, but I'm excited about where we're going, and it's been a fun journey so far. See you tomorrow.